Welcome to Cars in Detail. Today, we're going to take a look at this here Acura Integra. We're going to find out if it actually earns that Acura badge, or is this really just a Honda Civic with a nicer suit? We're going to find out. Because underneath all of that shiny exterior, there's a lot of Honda under there. Share a lot of the same mechanicals. And they share a lot of that same technology. So the question is, does it deserve to have that hallowed nameplate or not? Let's find out together on this episode of Cars in Detail. The Integra has now been around for 5 generations, including this one here. And it has become a bit of an icon for the Acura brand. And this one has had a bit of controversy because a lot of people are saying it's just a Civic Si with fancier clothes. And to some extent, they might be right. But the fact is that there are differences, and let's go take a look at those. Well, let's start with the obvious. Does this look like a Civic? And yeah, you can see a bit of a family resemblance, but Acura has obviously tried to give it its own identity. And I think they've largely succeeded. It's got the familiar Acura front end, and the rear end, while it's got a bit of a hint of Civic, I think that the front end and the back end and the overall shape of the vehicle is different enough to make it look like a different vehicle. But let's take a look inside. Inside, there are some really nice touches, like what appears to be real metal door handle, but although might be just plastic, but it's hard to say. Looks real, feels real. And we've got some window switches, and this is again one of the things that differentiates this car from an from the Civic. The ELS Studio 3D sound system. This thing should be much better than the stock Bose system in the Civic. But we'll have a look. We're going to try it out. And this one is a proper 3-pedal variety. Awesome. Now you can see that familiar family resemblance as you look at the side. But as soon as you get to the front end, you have the distinct Acura front end, and that is what makes this vehicle unique. The back, you can clearly see that Acura has given this vehicle its own unique identity. And what's probably best about this particular one is the fact that the Civic only comes in a regular trunk, but this is a full and proper hatchback, as you can see. And it is enormous in here. This thing is a cavern. Surprised that Honda wouldn't do that. Not sure why they wouldn't, but this is probably one of the best features of this here new Integra. And it is one of the biggest distinctive features of this car over a Civic. Now, some other differences. Power seats. Civic only gives you manual adjustment. This gives you multi-powered seats. Now inside, this does have the requisite digital dash. And it is a full set of gauges. As you can see, it has Apple CarPlay, so I'm assuming it must also connect to Android Auto as well. And a couple of things that are interesting. This is right out of the Civic, same style, although I believe on the Civic it goes all the way across, so it's a little different in that sense. But you know what? These joystick controls, very smooth. and very easy to use, very intuitive. And thank the maker. Nice, easy to understand, simple buttons and switches. Thank you, Acura. So, and this here's a manual. And it's the 6-speed flavor. And right over here, you got adjustments for your suspension settings. Right here. So you can change it to dynamic mode. Oh, that's interesting. Brings up a different menu here. And right here inside the Acura menu, let's just go in here, zoom a little. This little logo, look at that. It shows what it's doing. That's a nice little attention to detail, Acura. Wonderful. And then you got the big old cup holders here. And we got some big old cup holders. Now, from a detailer standpoint, I hate piano black. This is impossible to keep clean, but we're going to do our best later on. It's got this nice Alcantara type suede on the seats with leather and some nice detail accent stitching. It's got a giant hole in the roof, which is great. All right, in the back seat of the Integra. Now, I'm sitting behind where the owner of this car would normally sit, and I believe he's about 6 foot tall. And I have plenty of leg and foot room, so that's not an issue. What might be an issue for taller folks, though, is the headroom. I'm only about 5'6", and if you're anything over, I'm going to say about 5'9", you might be a little challenged in the headroom department back here. That's the only thing, but it's a pretty comfy place. In the back seat, there are 2 USB-C ports, but a big surprising omission. No rear seat vents. That's surprising. And I know that the Civic is the same, but you would have thought that Acura would put some here for the Integra. There's a nice little armrest with a couple of cup holders, which is fantastic. I believe the seat does also split and fold, which it does. As you can see, seat does also split and fold. Now I noticed this, so it looks like the rear seats are also heated. So that's a nice touch. Now this is one area where you would think Acura would have spent the extra $10 or whatever to add a couple of hood struts. Instead, we get a prop rod. Now under the hood, we have the same 1.5 liter inline turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that is in the Civic Si. And as you can see, it's a nice, neat, compact little power plant. So far, we've been looking at what Acura wants you to see. But now I want to see what the car's telling me. So let's take a look. Because one of the things that actually gets overlooked in a lot of car reviews is, what is the car actually like to live with day to day? And I think that's where the detailer's point of view is going to become really useful. So come take a look with me. Inside, you can see there's some salt left over from the winter there, and the mats are quite dirty. So we'll have to get those out so we can clean those up properly. Before we actually start doing anything, let's take a quick look at what it looks like now. And you saw some of that earlier, but let's take a look at the wheels. So these are gray wheels. You can see pretty dirty. So we're gonna get that all cleaned up. And one of the things I noticed, hopefully you can see in here, it's got these nice useful mud flaps, but it does tend to accumulate a lot of dirt and grit right in here, so we'll have to pay attention to that. Back, behind the rear wheels, you can see, same thing, right in here. There's a lot of dirt and stuff that gathers, and I would imagine that over time, this is gonna really gather a lot of dirt and debris behind this mud flap. Now, it's gonna do its job to keep some of the salt spray and stuff off of the back, but I think this is gonna become a problem over time. Feels very sandy to the touch. Looks great. It's got this gorgeous, I think they call it liquid carbon. So it's kind of a silvery grayish color. It's nice. It's a very nice paint. Let's take a look at that. And we're gonna make sure we do a full decontamination on that. Because this is a 2025 model, you can see that there is some paint protection on there, maybe left over or just newer paint, but we're gonna make this bead and look really, really great. As you can see now, the paint is really flat after having done the iron fallout remover and given it the pre-wash and wash. So take a look. There's no water beading whatsoever. So we're gonna fix it. Now that we've applied some protection to the paint, now take a look at it. Much better. Okay, well, let's take this 2025 Acura Integra for a quick spin and let's see, is it actually better than a Civic? So first impressions, it's got a great clutch feel, very Honda-like, very typical of Honda. Very direct shifter. Great steering feel. I mean, it feels great. Good torque. Very great throttle response. I mean, this is a nice driving vehicle. Feels very light. Great visibility all around. Engine actually sounds good for a 4-cylinder. Very Honda-like, I'll say. Yeah, this feels good. Suspension feels good and tight, soaks up all the bumps. Transmission, it doesn't feel like it's lagging or anything in any gear. Doesn't feel like it's lacking for power. Yeah, this feels good. It definitely has that Honda heritage in there, but it's just a little quieter than a Civic, but just got enough noise to make it interesting. Yeah, doing 80K in no time flat. So yeah, this thing is pretty good, I will say. I'm just gonna take a toot around the town, as they say. And you know what? I guess the big question is, would I spend my own money on this car? And is it worth the extra over a Civic Si? Tell me down in the comments what you would do. I'm gonna tell you what I think at the end. So far, I really like it. Brakes, very smooth, very linear. Everything clicks as it should. Seats are very comfortable. And after cleaning it up, I really got a chance to get familiar with some of the stuff. And I will say overall, the fit finish is excellent, as you would expect. The only thing that I do not really like is the fact that some of the materials, you can tell, like this is soft touch, but some of the other places where they're down low, I guess we'll say that it's evident where the roots of this vehicle are. And that's kind of a shame that they kind of did some cost cutting like that, but I guess everybody kind of does that these days. I'm in third gear doing 60 kilometers an hour, and yeah, pulls very nicely. No problem at all. It's got lots of torque. So on paper, the specs are a little bit deceiving because they'll say, it's 190 foot-pounds of torque and 200 horsepower, which these days doesn't honestly sound like a lot. And when you compare it to something else other than a Civic, like a Jetta GLI, for example, it seems like it would pale by comparison. But honestly, it's not terrible. In fact, it's quite good. It's not going to win a lot of stoplight races, mind you, but I think that for an everyday sedan, little sports sedan, it's quite good. So let's talk about, what did Acura get right? Well, the overall look and feel of the car, both interior and exterior, is excellent. Fit, finish, excellent. Road noise, vibration, and harshness, perfect. What did Acura get wrong? There's a few things. One, I think it's a shame that you cannot get the manual transmission without going to the Elite spec. You can't get it on the base model, which is really a crying shame, because it would make a great performance bargain if you could, for those of us who still want to row our own gears. Second, there's a couple of weird things. So up front, you get this really nice suede Alcantara insert that you sit on, which is really nice, but you don't get it in the back. What's up with that, Acura? Second, I think that they chose the right thing to differentiate this from a Civic Si by giving it some extra tech, giving it the hatchback instead of just a standard trunk. And that's really, really smart of Acura, and giving it the sound system and the extra suspension adjustments, etc. So that was smart. Where I think they could have done a little bit better job was, could have added some extra nicer touches, like gas struts for the hoods. Like, that just seems like a big oversight. And it would have cost them, what, $10? Maybe, if that. But yeah, after detailing the car, I can see that, they did put some nice touches in place. I think it would have been nicer if the interior of this car had some more, I don't know, pop. It's very Germanic. It's very black. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, could they have done a little more with it? Maybe. They could have put some nicer touches on the doors, I think. They're soft touch, but they have a bit of there's a bit lacking in some of the door, just on the door panels, because it's the same as the armrest, sort of, but it's not what I would call very premium. Maybe they could have put the Alcantara insert to make it a little more interesting. And that's the only criticism. But honestly, at this point, I'm kind of nitpicking, really, because I think that overall the vehicle is really good. It looks good, drives really well. I don't know how well it's doing for sales, but my guess is it's because it's a sedan, it's probably not doing the greatest, which is kind of a shame because cars like this are becoming very, very rare. And that's something that I hope future generations will appreciate, how good some of these cars actually are today. Because we never had it this good just even 10 years ago, I would say. One more thing that I think Acura could have done to differentiate this more from the Civic is, why not put all-wheel drive in this? Why not give it something a little extra to make it more, I don't know, but I guess if they wouldn't even do it on the Type R Civic, what makes you think that they're going to do it on an Acura? But I think that that would have been a really great way to differentiate it, much like Audi does with their products over the Volkswagens. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Okay, so final verdict. If this was my own money, would I buy it? Would I pay the extra for this car over a Civic Si? And I think the answer is pretty obvious for me. I would, absolutely. I think that there's enough premium features here to differentiate it and enough difference in the look and feel of the car to make it a no-brainer, in my opinion, to buy one. Now, is it worth it over some other contemporary competitors? Well, that is for you to decide. You tell me down in the comments below. The Integra isn't simply a Civic with an Acura badge, but it's also not completely divorced from its Civic DNA. If you enjoy car reviews where we actually get our hands dirty and see what it's really like, subscribe to Cars in Detail and let me know down in the comments below. What would you do? Would you pay the extra over the Civic to get the Integra? Thanks for watching.